Some stories aren't just forgotten, they're erased, buried so deep that their very mention becomes a crime. In Skyrim, a land built on the legends of heroes, there is one story so dark, so filled with betrayal and forbidden power, that a mighty king ordered it struck from every record, its name to be uttered no more. This is the Forbidden Legend of Archmage Gauldur and his 3 cursed sons. Long ago in the First Era, before Skyrim was the land we know today, there lived a mage of immense power and renown named Gauldur. He wasn't just another conjurer hidden in a remote tower. Gauldur was a counselor to kings, a master of the arcane whose wisdom was sought by the most powerful jarls. His strength was legendary, but the source of his incredible power was a well-known secret: his amulet. This was no ordinary enchanted necklace. The Gauldur amulet was an artifact of immense power, amplifying his health, his magicka, and his stamina to superhuman levels. It made him nearly invincible on the battlefield and tireless in his studies. He was a pillar of his time, a symbol of power used for the good of his people. But Gauldur made one fatal mistake. He trusted his own children. He had 3 sons, Jirik, Sigdis, and Mikrul. Each inherited a portion of their father's talent. Jirik was a brilliant but arrogant mage, hungry for arcane power. Sigdis was a master of stealth and archery, his cunning matched only by his vanity. And Mikrul, the youngest, was a ferocious warrior, a berserker whose strength in battle was terrifying to behold. They watched their father, adorned in his amulet, and saw not a man to be respected, but an obstacle. The power he wielded, they believed, should be theirs. One dark night, their jealousy festered into a plot. The 3 sons ambushed their own father in his sleep. Gauldur, for all his power, was unprepared for betrayal from his own blood. They murdered him, and with their father's body still warm, they stole the legendary amulet from his neck. But the brothers' greed was their undoing. They couldn't agree on who should possess the amulet. In their ensuing struggle, the artifact was shattered into 3 fragments. Each son took a piece and fled into the night, leaving the body of their father to be discovered the next morning. The news of the Archmage's murder sent shockwaves through Skyrim, but the horror was only beginning. Infused with a fragment of the amulet's immense power, each brother became a force of destruction. Their individual ambitions, once held in check by their father, now ran wild. Mikrul, the warrior, fled to the ancient Nordic tomb of Folgunthur. There, he used his fragment's power to raise an army of Draugr, twisting his father's art of magic into vile necromancy. He became a warlord of the dead, his undead soldiers terrorizing the surrounding lands, their numbers growing with every village he destroyed. Jirik, the mage, sought refuge in the ruins of Sarthal. His piece of the amulet amplified his magical abilities to a terrifying degree. He became a master of elemental destruction, unleashing storms and arcane fire upon anyone who dared approach the ancient city. He was a vortex of magical chaos, a force of nature driven by pure arrogance. And Sigdis, the archer, was perhaps the most insidious. He established a lair within a remote cave, using his fragment of the amulet to master the arts of illusion. He created phantom clones of himself, striking from the shadows with deadly accuracy. Travelers would be ambushed by an entire army of archers, only to find they were fighting one man and his many ghosts. His reign of terror choked the trade routes and filled the southern forests with fear. The 3 sons of Gauldur, once brothers, now monstrous demigods, were tearing Skyrim apart. The High King of Skyrim at the time, King Harald, could not allow this to continue. He dispatched his personal battle mage, Lord Geirmund, along with a company of Skyrim's finest warriors, to hunt the brothers down. What followed was a desperate, bloody campaign that raged across the province. The hunt for Mikrul led Geirmund to Folgunthur. He fought his way through hordes of Draugr, a relentless tide of undead flesh and steel. Deep within the tomb, he finally confronted Mikrul. The battle was ferocious, but the Lord of the Draugr was ultimately no match for the High King's battle mage. Mikrul was slain, and his body was sealed away in the deepest part of the tomb, his sarcophagus locked behind a magical barrier. Next was Jirik. Geirmund and his men marched on Sarthal. What they found there was a magical nightmare. The ruins themselves seemed to writhe with Jyric's power. Elemental Atronachs guarded every passage, and the very air crackled with destructive energy. Many of Gyriman's men fell, but they pressed on. At the heart of the ruins they cornered Jyric. The ensuing magical duel was so intense it said that the sky above Saarthal burned for a week. In the end, Jyric was defeated, his power finally exhausted. Like his brother, he was entombed within the ruins, sealed away for eternity. 2 brothers were down. Only one remained, Sigdis. Lord Geirman tracked Sigdis to his hideout, a cave that would one day be known as Geirman's Hall. But Sigdis was too clever to be cornered. He challenged the battle mage to a duel, a final contest of champions. Knowing it was the only way to end the bloodshed, Geirman accepted. The details of their duel are lost to time, but we know its outcome. They fought on the shores of the lake near the cave. Sigdis, with his phantom clones and deadly aim, was a near impossible target. Geirman, weary from his long campaign but resolute, fought with all his remaining strength. In the end, both fell. They had slain each other. King Harald ordered a grand tomb to be built for his loyal battle mage in the middle of the lake, so he could stand as an eternal guardian. And deep within the cave where he had made his lair, the body of Sigdis was sealed away, his restless spirit trapped forever. The 3 brothers were dead. Their reign of terror was over. The fragments of the amulet were safely locked away in their tombs. But for King Harald, this was not enough. He had seen the devastation wrought by the sons of Gauldur. He understood that the story itself was a poison. The tale of 3 brothers who murdered their father and gained immense power could inspire others to follow their dark path. The legend of the Gauldur amulet was a temptation that Skyrim could not afford. So, the king issued an edict. Gaudur's name, and the names of his sons, were to be struck from every book, every tapestry, every song. Bards were forbidden from telling the tale. Scholars were ordered to burn any records they found. The story of their rise and fall was to be erased from history, its memory scattered to the winds. The legend became forbidden. For thousands of years, the king's edict held. The story of Gauldur and his sons faded into obscure folklore, a ghost of a tale whispered only by those who studied the most arcane and forgotten texts. The once great Archmage was forgotten, and his treacherous sons became nothing more than nameless Draugr in forgotten tombs. But in Skyrim, nothing stays buried forever. Whispers survived, fragments of the story endured, and the power sealed away in those tombs still called out to those with the ambition to listen. The legend was forbidden, but it was never truly gone. It was merely waiting for someone brave enough or foolish enough to uncover the truth and reforge the amulet that a king had tried so desperately to erase from the world.